Reid with a Creole, but we no normal. With a coffee and we royal. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like taffy. You coulda holla say me ugly, but a loon pretty girl stay to chase me. Royal coffee and my style sticky like taffy. How could you call me ugly when a loon pretty girl stay to chase me? Minor, tell you things we want make you catch feeling. Your mere existence you want left to examine. Ebenezer me gone, me know for the squeeze dumpling. Believe woman sweet like stew pumpkin. See me, but you don't know me. Confident, say that me bossy. Inquisitive, you call me nosy. Defend me rights, holler at me chancy. Me know this show no mercy. We don't take no back chat from nobody. You don't have to feel like me, but you must respect me. Tell this more. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like taffy. You coulda holla say me ugly, but a lone pretty girl stay to chase me. Me cool and deadly. Machine gun Kelly. Machiavelli. Stay ready like Freddy. We have woman plenty. Woman the city, woman the country. You coulda act like you don't want believe me. Ask the white, that me bally. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like taffy. You coulda holla say me ugly, but a lone pretty girl stay to chase me. Royal coffee, and my style sticky like taffy.
Good evening, greetings. It is Wednesday. That means, of course, once again, our podcast, See Smoke, because when you see smoke, you know there's fire. I am G. Michael Reid with you as per normal, waiting and expecting our co-host, Mr. Joe Cowie should be here. And we have a special guest coming on this evening. Lots of things happening. But of course, I must remind you that our discussion is frank. No sacred cows, no scapegoats, no axe to grind, no agenda of any kind, political or otherwise. We believe in frank, honest discussion. Let the chips fall where they may. We're listening there to the closing of the debate over the budget in the House of Representatives. Lot of talk, lot of talk, lots of money, talk of money being thrown around. The budget this year, I believe, is $1.75 billion. $1.75 billion. It's the biggest budget ever for sure. Let us hope that that will translate into a better standard of living for all Belizeans. And we know a lot of money going to transportation, a lot of money going to health, to education, to infrastructure. Many times, the only evidence of that is in the words we hear at the House. It seems sometimes the same projects are funded year in and year out. We have get some comments on that from Joe as soon as he comes in. A couple of other things. Sunday, of course, this coming Sunday will be the opening of the hurricane season 2025-2026. It's been dry so far. I'm telling you. So obviously the rains will seem they'll be on time because we've seen every day a little clouding up, a little more clouds, and you think it would rain. They just blow over. Turns out to be a bright, sunny day. We've had a wonderful dry season. And I, for one, always think that we should have kept the closing of schools during the dry season so children could get that hands-on nature type education as necessary. Because the ABC, fine. The reading, writing, arithmetic, fine. But the education that comes from everyday interaction with not only each other, but with nature and the world at large, learning how to swim, learning how to hike, enjoy the natural wonders of Belize. All this is important and an integral part of education. We need to keep this in mind. I don't see it going back because I don't know if that's not a human characteristic, but once we stuck on something, anything that comes up that suggests anything otherwise immediately meets with staunch objection. Um, I just believe that it is a better system for us here in Belize. Um, we coincide with the way it's done in the States, which is everything that we do. But we are realizing now that with Trump painting himself in a corner, with Trump doing whatever he can to keep America by itself, as opposed to a part of the wider community of the world, of the earth, um, where we have to be careful where we stand and ensure that we prepare ourselves for any eventuality. I'm joined by Mr. Lennox Lam. Good evening, Lennox. How are you?
Good evening, Mike. How are you doing? Nanak Salam here. You good?
Wonderful. Yeah, man. All is well so far, so good.
Listen, listen to me. I saw you grading some coconut. How before we get into the coconut issue, how did Sarah came out?
Oh, the which were that? The the Surrey. Uh,
Yeah, with the one coconut.
Why everything went well. Everything it come out. I had to tone down on a monk, but then again, it was sufficient for me. Why it came out? I mean, it came out like a, I think I might have boiled it, leave it too much. The next time I'm gonna try that one different way, cause I think I left it onto and turned almost to an oil as opposed to that white milky liquid that I like. Who how that look. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, man, it's a um, it's a trial and error kind of thing. Um, I am not a chef by profession, but I don't mind dabbling in the kitchen from time to time. Wait, they're still there foreign, right?
Yes, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri
All
for
right,
the weekend.
you're studying.
No, I'm spending time in St. Louis, Missouri. Leave it at that.
Well, you're the Dodge Ice. You're the Dodge Ice. My up and then explain. Um,
Yeah,
where,
definitely.
where you think about the returnees? I mean, any thoughts on that? I believe at 21 and then come in
Um,
in the first batch.
to be very honest, with you, Mike, I do not like, and I think the news did it after the fact. Um, a lot of the returnees, what they try to portray is so the US government has their agenda, but also we have to be very cognizant of the fact that the US has always propagated the streets of gold, come to America. And so a lot of those immigrants who came back came to America to seek a better lifestyle. But we have to also understand that that better lifestyle is what populates and also promotes the Americanism. So for them to just turn around and reverse it in the way it has been reversed and the way that they have promoted their reverse for political reasons puts people at a disadvantage. Being deported is a humiliating experience or a humiliating status for anybody. So I did not like how it was done. I come home a lot. I try to come home at least once a month. And I have always been on flights with deportees where the coming home was never publicized, was never a big show, because these people have to reintroduce themselves into society and live. And 9 out of 10 times, it wasn't any real fault of them why they were sent back home. And especially now with this new mandate by this administration, a lot of these people are being sent back home not because of any doing of themselves, but more from a political action. And now they have to go and face the Belizean public in somewhat of an embarrassing way. So I did not find it cute. I did not find it. Um, I thought it was distasteful, to be very honest.
First of all, so that give me your poor, give me your downtrodden, all that out of the window for America now. They that can notice the inscription on the base of the Statue of Liberty, where everybody used to come in at one time through Ellis Arnold. That is kind of like America is saying, no, we don't want to anymore. We have had enough of your cheap labor. We want to pay with own people our money. But now I don't think it's totally fair or true for you to say that it's none of their doing. Most of them basically overstayed their visas. They've not deported anybody who then just pick up with legal status. Some of them might have committed a crime somewhere down the line, and this is the reason why they do it. I hear what you're saying, and yes, it is. Trump is doing it to fulfill his promise, whatever promise he made to his people. Many of them are now second guessing what they were asking him to do and what they thought he would do, and they were endorsing. But by the same token, the sending back of immigrants, our people, to our land might be a blessing if they bring with them whatever expertise they might have picked up over there, and you can't live without learn. So they certainly are more enlightened to the world. But to say it is embarrassment also, I don't think so, because uh, for that is to suggest that America is this wonderful paradise that they paint it to be, and we both know that is not true, not for everybody.
No, I do agree. But the theater in which they have ensured that this process, which has been going on long before the present administration, the
Correct,
deportation have always been going on.
correct. Obama
So
himself deported a lot of people.
exactly. So this theater to please, or to please the electorate of Mr. Trump
The MAGA
has
crowd.
has has a negative effect on these people when they get back to, especially a country like Belize, who is a very small and unique society. So it might not mean anything to Guatemala, to Mexico, to Colombia, but it's also for Belize to come back home to Belize and to basically acclimatize yourself to that society with the stigma of whatever deportation might come on. So you commit a crime, you might overstay your time, you might have come in illegally. G Mike, you have to understand that what this present administration has said is, if you have committed a crime in America, you're no longer able to stay. Committing a crime could be as simple as running a traffic running a traffic light, and
Yeah.
now you're deemed as undesirable. It could be as simple as dropping garbage on the street. Anything can make you into a a citizen, or a immigrant who has committed a crime.
Undesirable. Undesirable. Yeah.
Undesirable. And but when you come back to Belize and it's broadcasted on the media, on the TV, that Islam could chew and drop something on the ground, get a ticket, and I'm disabled. And I come back into my society and I'm looked at as a
A
criminal,
deportee.
as a it's not cute. And we as a government have to be very cognizant of what they are propagating and how it affects our people. So I watched the sideshow of the plane landing, waiting on the plane landing, and the last thing on the newscast in the evening, well, some of these people really did not commit any real offense. I mean, we had people who left Belize for political asylum, which countries all over the world under the Geneva Convention have agreed that we'll accept people for political asylum. No, if for whatever reason the US don't accept you in that status, you are now put on a plane back home. And so,
But, but
but in the manner in which you are sent back home is humiliating, and
Lennox,
it's not something I think that as a society we want to propagate or promote.
I before we get there though, because most of those individuals, if not all of them, overstayed their visa. So it wouldn't it be now because we have to be careful what we support and condone. Um, why did they not go through the right process? Why did they not extend their visa? Why did they not maybe come back and get one next visa and go back? Um, and there are circumstances sometimes beyond your control, but for the most part, you'd have to look for every story for kind of like just put a blanket explanation on it, just as you wouldn't want to put on blanket blame and say everybody was doing wrong. No, I don't know, and I'm looking at that and I'm saying, first of all, America is not home. Belize is home, and they say home is where you go and they can't turn your back. So they come home. I don't think it's an embarrassment at all. I think the opportunity for them, if they come back now with the right attitude and want to fit in and help our growth, as opposed to come and add to the problems that we have here. So that's my.
No, no, GMAC, I think as a government in Belize, we have deported more immigrants or people from Central America on a monthly basis than that. But we do not humiliate people in the process. That it is a humiliating action to please the political directorate in the United States, and it's not cool. And we as a nation have to be. We will take back our citizens. Our citizens, a lot of them are probably happy to come back home, but we do not have to send them back home in an inhumane way or in a prime time TV manner to humiliate these people. We're not we're not
But
in that business.
you might
And as
blow
a
it out.
country, one second, and as a country, we have to say we will take back our residents. We will take them back by 100, by 1,000, one on each flight. But we're not gonna do. And I'm not blaming the U.S. government for this. I'm saying, as a media, as a society, it's all residents. If they offended the United States or any country, they have to come home. Let's take our people back in human. They have not committed any crimes in Belize. So as it relates to Belizean laws and ours, they have not done anything to offend the Belizean society. So they're not should not be humiliated
But
in that
Lennox,
magnitude that it was done. It's just my position.
you did blow it out of proportion though, because first of all, what was inhumane? They were brought on planes. Some of them, if they agreed to come on their own, get 1,000 US. They came, and the only thing happened that the media wanted to see them. Let's be fair. Let's be real, Cruffy. Fast. Cruffy interfering. Cruffy know that the corner going go see that who they come. I want to know who come in. Now, I don't know that it and to say it's humiliating. I don't think so. That could only be that way if they feel that way about it. But you could step off of that plane proudly. I'm home. And think done. There's no humiliation there. And I know realize the way anybody think. You're the home. Joe, we talk about the deportees, the plane load that came in, and Lennox think they went too far to humiliate them, and it wasn't humane, and they didn't deserve it. Of course, we don't know what they did or what they did not do. But when you thought, what were your thoughts when you saw it happening?
My thought is that the way how Trump, and I will specifically say Trump, is conducting deportation is very inhumane. He's doing it in a very non-international convention way. That's a fact. And that is so blatant. That stood out. When the white immigrants came from South Africa, they were treated as heroes. They were welcome to America. But when America is deporting, especially the blacks and the Latin Americans, he treat them with inhumility. He treat them, I believe, indeed, in a humane way. Now, I will say this in the context that the immigration in every country is a privilege extended by the host country. That is a fact. You go to another country and you seek residency, you seek visa, you seek nationality. It is a privilege. It's not a right. But what has been happening is that it's a fact that America, because of being the so-called greener pasture, does make itself very attractive for people looking for a greener pasture, one, for people looking to run away from persecution in their countries. So to me, many of the people that is going to America and want to go to America are under circumstances that I think are quite understandable. So now you need to know how to treat these people. You have to treat them at least as human beings.
Joe, and again feedback. I mute your mic 1 second, Makasi. You got a mute button there? You're muted? Yeah, no. All right, then are you. Then are you.
You want to try me, Mike?
Try Lennox. Mute the mic. No, you're not muted. And it show up on the mute. You hear me, right? All right. Now gone. Now gone. Joe, isn't it on us and the host country to do what you say America did? Open their arms, welcome them, treat them as well, they're citizens coming home, which is what it is, no? I don't think we can pay much mind or should pay much mind to what Trump is doing. Everybody knows Trump is a lunatic. There's no question there. So we have to not. Yeah, that was Lennox, obviously, and it was feedback. But I guess you try something. I hope you come back on. I don't know, Joe, that I am as concerned about it as far as the humiliation and the circus that was created around the whole thing. I think they come home. What we need to now try to do is ensure that they are brought back into society in a constructive way. Because they could come now and not do nothing, just sit down and cause and create problems, no?
Right, and I wanted to finish my observation and the next leg. The first leg is the way they are being treated. People who are being deported under Trump. Now that's one aspect of it. No,
Treated where, Joe? There or here?
no, how they are being treated in deportation. But we have all agreed on that, so we need not debate that. We all agree that Trump is in fact abusing human rights in the deportations of people, and he's acting in a very racial way. So we agree on that. Now, let me go to the next phase. The country that is the country of home, their home, the country of their nationality.
Mhm.
When they are coming back, as in the case of Belize now coming home back, I think when they are coming back, we too at this end should have a pretty good understanding as to what is it that they did wrong in America, or if they had done anything wrong in Belize, in fleeing Belize. And I think that if they simply had gone again for the greener pasture purpose, and they were caught there and they are sent back home, I think we now must receive them and receive them with honor and receive them with reverence because they are our Belizeans. And now we must sign out how we could get them into the mainstream of our lives. So I don't sense anything that has gone wrong with how they were received in Belize. I quite frankly don't know of any ill treatment of them. I understand they came in. They were met at the airport. There was one of them or two, I'm not sure how many, that apparently had some criminal records in Belize. And then to me, those are to be treated differently. But the vast majority of them had not committed any crimes in this country. And I understand they were properly documented and they were given release to go back to at least to go to whosoever relatives they had. So I don't think the ones that were I think Belize was quite receptive and treated them with you
Joe,
with humanity. I
Joe,
don't see any problem in Belize.
as living here, right? It's real, and it's a reality for us to appreciate that the likelihood for someone of my color or Latino or blacks are more likely to be arrested, be profiled, and not have a fair day in court. So, for us, the, what the administration is saying is simply, if you are an immigrant within America and you're law abiding, you're welcome to stay. But when you have a huge disparity among your arresting policies, your conviction policies, where people of color get arrested 5 times more than someone of not that color. We're not seeing we're not seeing the Europeans and the lighter skinned people being deported. We're seeing people of color being sent back. And so it's one thing to say we welcome more people back, but the question is let's talk about the people of color who are here legally. We have to walk 10 times tighter on a tightrope because the American society has not effectively dealt with the racial biases with arrest or conviction, which leads to the deportation. So it's really not a level playing field.
Right, but the only thing I want to say here, Lennox, is that
Yes.
I think the three of us is in agreement with the way Trump is treating these people. Now, what I thought the next aspect of it was how is it that we receive them? Now, I don't have any problem with the way they were received in Belize. I didn't see any problem there. So if we want to know, discuss how they were treated by the US, that's a different matter.
No, but
But did you see
I
any
think
problem with how they were received in Belize?
no, I didn't, Joe. I did not like the orchestrated media,
The media circus.
the media circus that took place.
Yeah.
We could not get any definitive answer about the kidnapping. And I'm from Missouri. The the guy that kidnapped the plane, we could not get any information from the U.S. Embassy about what took place in that situation. But we got a project, we got a long, proper interview about the deportation of these people back in our country.
Okay, can I come in here back? Because maybe I'm just now getting into what is the issue we're talking about. You are saying that the way the media,
Yes,
the way the media manage the
yes,
deportation of Belizeans home, you believe
yes,
that it has in a way humiliated them and made them seem as though they were criminals.
yes,
No, I
and that
cannot
was wrong.
I
And
cannot disagree with you with that. And it's not only because of this deportation, but generally I sense in our media, and I'm not saying it's limited to Belize, we want to sensationalize things. We don't want to really speak about the facts of issues. We tend to want to dramatize and sensationalize because that is how we believe we make money off of the media. So I think that the media is the issue here that you seem to be addressing, and I have to agree with you. But as to how
and Joe,
how the government is treating
and
it,
to add to that, Joe, I believe that this present administration, for political mileage within their own constituency, has taken this issue and have, it's all over the U.S. media every single day. The 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 fulfillment of this political promise of deporting people. So I do not find the action of our media to be unique. I I am hoping that they did it callously and independently, and they're not a part and parcel of the propaganda that's promoting this action.
I will say this, Lennox. Now that you are kind of coming from that angle, when I first became aware of it, obviously it was through the media. And I think that the media was in fact sensationalizing it and made it appear as if, though, boy, look at these people coming home and they're supposed to be problem people, they were deported. The truth about it is that if a person seeking a greener pasture tries to enter another country and he's caught, that is nothing to be ashamed of. It's an offense in that country, but that is inherent in all human beings because of the instinctive nature for survival. So we always want to go. The Central Americans during the Civil War overwhelmed Belize. Thousands of them came into Belize. At the end of the day, what we had to do, we get the United Nations to help us.
And
So
the place near Salvapan, for Christ's sake.
that's right. And what we did, Belize did very well in dealing with those people who are fleeing from the civil wars in Central America. So Belize is on record to treat people who were in fact fleeing from persecution in a very humane way. So Belize is on record for doing that.
Well,
Now,
go ahead.
I think that, yes, under Trump, it's despicable, it's racist. But how Belize received them, I would agree with you that the media, which is not uncommon because it's happening in America, you have certain section of the media, and I don't want to blanket the media, but some of them seems to want to take a grain of truth and dramatize it if it will benefit them, which is not good because you are hurting innocent human beings. So in that sense, I agree with you.
Gentlemen, I think we'll talk about a couple of different issues at the same time here.
Yeah.
Number one, the racism problem in America is indeed still a problem, though I'll tell you it has gotten better. I don't know when it will ever get good enough that you could stop complaining about it, but it is certainly not as terrible as it was before Martin Luther King, before Malcolm X, before these martyrs who stood up and fought for that. The next topic here that we're dealing with as far as the media, and the media does not do things to inform people, certainly not in Belize. They do it for a show. And they want to get, you got two media houses, in particular the big ones, they want to get their news first. And that I want move off into that area. Um, well, when we're done with this, any other? Because at the end of the day, I don't see it as a big issue. I don't see it as Lennox is obviously putting it up as a embarrassment, a humiliation. Um, and I know that Trump intentionally wants to humiliate Belizeans more than anybody else. He's a racist. We all know that. So he does things like that. And he has set back the whole civil rights movement in America decades, if you will. So I think America has to deal with that, though. And I think the black people in America has fallen asleep. And now they have to wake back up and continue that fight because they felt they seem to be in a comfort zone. They've gotten there. We're equal now. We got LeBron James to make millions. We got all these at least to make a lot of money. We got black people on TV. We got them in movies. But there's a lot more than that. There's what Lennox is talking about on the street where you have to really walk that thin line. But you should know that when you go to America. And you should understand that you have to walk that thin line. And if you don't, then you can't say Lennox that it's not no fault of theirs because obviously something that they did that bring the heat on top of them.
G Mike, I'll say this in closing on this topic, right? I the first time I went to the US, I was 5 years old. I was lucky due to my family, whatever, and I have a big family to go to the States a lot. My daughter just um, on her summer break, she came to visit. We have thousands of Belizeans who access visa. They come to America. They do their shopping. They come for summer, and the atmosphere of the immigrant, the atmosphere of the regular visitor in this environment is not one. When you see that, you are scared. You're not allowed to enjoy and do the things that we allow tourists to do in our country. So it's really an uncomfortable situation for people with visas, people traveling. Summer is coming up, and this is a discussion we need to have as our leaders to the U.S. Embassy. The U.S. government makes billions of dollars from tourism. They won't say it, but tourism is real. People come out here. Legitimate people, walk in fear because we know what racism look like. We know the unfair practices based on racism. And the fact that I would love to come to New York or Chicago for the summer, but I might be faced with this reality does negatively affect the US economy and also affects the free movement of people, of which we all try to achieve by these conventions that we speak. So I mean, we have to speak about it, and we also have to let our US counterparts appreciate the unsettledness of what this looks like. Like I said, Belize deports. Every country deports. Joe said it. But we do not make it uncomfortable for people to move around in a society that we know racism, people of color, people are being victimized for any reasons. It's not an even playing field, G Mike. And so
I
that's why my concern is where it is. And I'll leave it at that.
I hear you. I hear you. I don't know, but remember, I lived 20 years in the U.S. Um, I experienced racism when I first went there, and I am not certainly my melanin is not as strong as yours would be, but still, I was put out on a barber chair. I was put in. I pointed to the right area at the cafeteria where I should sit. So racism is real there. Make no mistake, though, it's real here in Belize also. And it's even worse, so on bigotry, where we not like one another for whatever reason come up. So I, and my take on the whole thing is that you know what, on a gone, on overstay on a welcome, on a never renew the visa, you come back, just settle back and enjoy Belize. Because Belize is nice right now, as nice as anywhere in the states that you can go, except for that almighty dollar that is easier to get there, but also easier to lose. You spend that, I mean, cost of living high. So getting there in Belize too. Now, we talk about the media and the role of the media and what they do. Um, I saw something on Facebook that this one show, this media guy was celebrating, I believe, 30 something years. Um, and then I saw another one where this boy the chase on with the stick for Lasha. This guy Budna, who claims he's a media personnel. He did do his job, he did cover a story. It was the funniest thing for the week, I'll tell you that. But the other guy is the guy Pandey from Kayo. And you know, I understand that you have to. I give him a lot for his perseverance, but I've listened to a few of his podcasts and lives and whatnot, and I don't know that it's a credit to the media. Maybe we don't hold our media to a high enough standard. And what's the criteria for being able to go out there and say, boy, with this our media, with our media house had to cover our media house. The man said he was called out. He was called out to cover the story. Called out by who? I mean, and what qualifies him to be a media? Are we maybe not setting a high enough standard for what we call media in Belize? By the way, all right. Obviously, not on that one. I was watching Channel 5. Go ahead then. Go ahead, Lam. You were thinking about that.
No, I was seeing if Joe was going to have a response. I think, G Mike, we have to appreciate the fact that the technology has taken over, and what we know as the traditional media house might not necessarily be what the traditional media is. I think we're going through a revolution. So it's kind of unfair to say that this person is not a media host or not a media. It's if he has a following and the people get their information, be it wrong or right, from him, does that disqualify him from being
Well,
considered to be a
is there
media?
no criteria though? Is there no criteria?
You
And
see, we're in the yellow submarine. I don't know if we have criteria for anything anymore, G Mike. What do you think?
you could do a live. You could all right, and it's a live. Everybody could do a live. Everybody got a phone and do a live. But to say the what to be qualified as a media host, there has to be standards, man. Okay, we have to hold them accountable too.
Well, could we then look at what is the purpose of the media? And I don't think the purpose of the media has changed. I think maybe the media has changed in fulfilling its purpose. But if you go back, and I listened to some years ago, and not very long, with Don Rada and the guys from the old school, and they draw the distinction between what it was for them, where the objective was to inform. It is to inform the listeners and the viewers based on the facts, etc. And he made the point that they were not following the money followed them because they were doing what they were supposed to do to inform their listeners and viewers. And to me, that makes sense. Now, today, we have more media houses. What I think is happening to us is that because now there is so much more to cover, there's so much more to do, and we don't have the resource to do some of the things them that the media houses need to do. For example, if you take any other media house, you will have maybe one person or two that have to cover every aspects of social and economic, religious, all the various aspects of life. So we cannot afford to specialize, we generalize. And because we generalize, some of them not competent to do that. So you're not going to have on show tonight, or the media want to cover the news, and one of them, because of their political background, can cover something that is politics, one with economic background, one with sociology background. We don't have that kind of specialization. So what is facing us today is that one, it comes down to the same thing that is happening in America. Wherever they said the two powers, the powers of politics and the power of money. And it is believed now that the media houses are now becoming very partisan. They line up. They line up with either Democrats or Republicans. So the media houses now are influenced by their belief in terms of which party they support. And sometimes which one they support depends on who is financing them.
Well, always. And you can listen to CNN and listen to Fox, and you get two different stories, two different views.
Well,
So they're not the mainstream media in particular. You have to, and maybe that is the good part of people out there with phones and cameras that catch it. I, the way it's getting though with AI and the way people could doctor up things and whatnot, it kind of like when it blur the line between we're real and we're just sensational. So that was interesting. And Lennox, how you say AI? Does it frighten you as much as it frightens me?
Um, Before I touch AI, because that's funny. It's interesting you ask me that, BG, man, because I'm fighting with my job. But wow, back to the media thing, just to wrap it up.
Right.
Um, we have the media has a responsibility to give information to the public. What what we have seen even within the US, we have had a lot of commentary and and that has taken over what the media role is. We get to hear Jules' opinion, or well, I don't know who is in charge of Channel 5 anymore, their opinion on what the facts is. What what I do to get full media coverage, I tell people I look at the media between 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, because the responsible media houses still have to give the information. Now, if you look at it at prime time, you're going to get commentary of what the information is. So when you look at Jules, you have to see you'll see the commentary of what he thinks the budget is about, or what he thinks the SOE is about, or what he thinks this is about. You're not getting the information on Swede. Similarly, within the US, you get what the prime time report, the prime time analysts are analyzing what that looks like as it relates to ratings and getting what that is. So when we look at media houses, we want to be able to look at commentary versus information. And if you have the time to look at it, you will get the information. So that's my opinion on
but what I like to emphasize here, Lennox, and I'll make it very simple. All the media houses may have the same facts, but they will have different opinions. And
Yes,
their opinions will depend on who owns them. And that to me is
exactly.
exactly what it is.
You
Yeah,
were talking about the time to watch news. Unfortunately, we in Belize only get
exactly.
the
We
news only
only
come
get
on in the evening. We only get the
we are
prime
only getting
time.
commentary. We are
Yeah, so
only getting
while you could watch
commentary.
it during the day, we don't got that luxury, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that came out of the fact that G Mike, we had the Belize Broadcasting Network, which was whichever government was in place, they put out the news based on. We have never had a history of truly independent media. We have had whichever government was in place put the news and information out to the people based on how they view it to be. And then when we developed these independent media houses, it was then the editorial team who decided what or how that facts look like. But I think with the genesis of the internet and Facebook, we have now we are still getting somewhat of a independent look with but I think we will develop into where we'll be getting more information and then we will have to make the decision to decipher what is real information versus tainted information. Um,
Go ahead.
But I have seen it when I look at the news in the evening. Sometimes I would change from one to the other. And it's clear to me that they may have the same facts. I will look at the example with the SOE judgments. And they all have the same facts. Because all of them did look at the judgment. At the judgment at the fact. But when you listen to the opinions will depend on who the owners are.
yeah.
And it's the opinion, evidently, that you have the freedom to say, well, that's my opinion. So we know the listeners and the viewers have to be able to not just listen to opinions, but know the facts first. And then we must do our own discerning of those opinions as to which one you want to accept. Because they're opinions.
Well, that's why education is so important,
That's right.
because education is supposed to teach you how to rationalize and pick nonsense from nonsense, if you will. If you don't know that and you just listen, which many people do, and I'm amazed at the amount of people who just listen and believe.
That's
They
right.
don't listen and question at all. They don't ask. They don't want to see a different point of view. And the first thing they hear that we then grab and run with. So I think we got a problem there, and we need for there are two sides of that. The media needs to be more responsible, but the viewers, general, and you always make a point that is Joe, people participation. We have to do our share without question, right?
What is
So
what is evident to gentlemen, is that the society is becoming more divided along partisan lines. And I think that division is not ideological. I think it's more for self-interest. That is quite evident to me now.
you think that is true that they're but what about the independent thinkers and independent aspect of our society? You think that they're getting less and everybody's going one side or the other?
I think the independents are becoming more silent now. If they are in the majority, they are now the silent majority.
That is sad.
I would say this, and let's look at this very show here tonight. And I'm on the show, so I know maybe it's something biased. But this show have put a platform where we can come from different persuasions, different political persuasions, different sociological backgrounds, and we have different opinions, but at least we're not towing the same line. And
Um,
I think a media house can afford to have different opinions on the same facts from that same media house, rather than having it too dominant in terms of partisan support.
Before we go to the AI, I want to talk about that, leave it, but Linux. But now that you has brought that up, um, you you come from a UDP background, correct? Would that be a correct in saying that?
Me, G, Michael, Joe.
Yeah, you, Linux.
I I
We
come
know
from
Joe no come from
UDP.
no UDP
No,
background.
no, no.
Joe that blue to the
Yeah,
bone.
no. Let's go back. I come from a NIP UDP family.
All right.
I grew up listening to Mr. Goes, listening to my uncles. I grew up in that. But I then but you see, I come from a unique reality where we were allowed to educate ourselves, explore. We were never badgered into anything, and so I ended up being very close to Mr. Cowie, and I tell people a lot of my political decisions and aspirations and my outlook, because when I was a man, when I became a young man, he influenced me a lot, and that's when I became a PUP. But I was allowed to, even coming out of an NIP UDP family, to be very independent and open-minded about my political outlook.
Uh-huh.
So I would not I
Well,
would not want to
it
use
was not
me
it was
as
not
a good example,
condemnation.
because
It,
we were not badgered into we were badgered into learning, education, and understanding what the
it
demographic.
wasn't it
Go ahead.
wasn't a condemnation or an accusation.
No, it was not. It's not. I'm
No, I
very.
know, no, no. I'm saying because that's me. I'm saying I didn't. I explained that, but
No, I
the
no G Mike. I love and I embrace my political journey from my family and my exposure and what it has allowed me to do. I mean, if I look at my cousins, my first cousins, the majority of them are lawyers. But because of my journey, I went to study politics. And it allowed me to be open-minded about it. And that's just how my reality was. So yes, coming out of a UDP family gives me a very, very good understanding of what that looked like. But my family also ensured that I that I appreciated the whole political reality and beliefs.
and
So
looking
I
at
was
that
raised
reality, then looking at that reality, you decided to be a PUP.
after. Let me be very frank, and you probably get premium on this. After after the way Joe Cowie treated me, coming out of a UDP family, I remember working for Joe Cowie. It was a contentious start, but I remember Joe Cowie going into an election, understanding that I come from a UDP family. And Joe, I don't think you remember this. Joe told me, he said, election is coming up. I know you come from a UDP family. So we're going to close down office. I'm going to continue to pay you. After elections, when I win the elections, you can come back and work. And I was like, I thought about it and I was like, no, I really support what you're trying to do within this constituency. And I'm going to work with you because I feel like you as an individual is the best candidate for Caribbean shores. So, so I'm saying to you, even coming from that family, and he understand that how polarized the society was, he gave me the liberty to stand down and come back, and I embraced that, and that kind of, and maybe I miss. Know what I'm thinking about it? Maybe I misunderstood Joe Cowie values for PUP values, but I then felt if the PUP organization was that dynamic to appreciate my my history, but allow me to be a part of, then this is the organization I want to be a part of.
You know,
All
one of the
right.
things, if you allow me to, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to say it here tonight with in the presence of Lennox. Lennox generation, young fellows with associate degrees or were still in the process of doing associate degrees. It is through them I come to understand that what I was doing must have been the right thing. For the reason that I sense his generation and those of him, it was not about PUP or UDP so much. It was what they thought was the right thing to do for the community. And apparently, I get the belief that it was that I think that draw them towards what was labeled as a POP. But it's not that it was a case of where they just wanted to be PUP. So, well, why the PUP? I see Lennox and his generation, his students. I engage them. And I never did want them interested in whether they were UDPs or PUPs. But to me, they delivered. I gave them the task to design the Dolphin Park. I gave them the task to help to design the development of their communities. And they came through magnificently. So to me, what they wanted was not necessarily peace, PUP, or UDP. Is that what they wanted was what we allowed them to have. And it's
What?
important to understand that in our politics then, maybe it has changed. And that is why the next never became he and his generation, him his mother, never really become a PUP just because they wanted to send in a PUP. It is that they saw what they wanted for their community. That was the opportunity was giving to them to achieve it. And that's what they joined.
Interesting, Lennox, that you clarify that because suggesting that the policies you saw in Joe Covey that you might have confused with the PUP policy, because I see a couple of stalwarts, Joe included now. Norris Hall wrote something last week. A number of Hector Silva in Cayo seems to are have the stalwarts have drifted from the party, not from the policies of the party, apparently, as Joe has made clear, but from what is going on. My question to you is, how are we doing as a party? How is the current government doing as a party, the current PUP government, as a political entity, no?
Is that a question to me or to Joe?
A question to you, basically. I want you sitting there. You come in every month or so, and from there you get a kind of different view. We sometimes when you're up too close to it, you don't see it. They say you can't see the saying goes. You know see if you're too close, you not get one peripheral view. Well, how are you seeing this government so far in their second term?
Um, G Mike, for me, a government is only as good as its people. What I've seen in this government is clearly trying. They're trying very, very hard to to take this country to where it needs to go. And I'm not dodging the question, I'm saying this as a charge to the people. Because of Joe Cohen, because of John Briseno, who has reached out to me even before he got in, this party is very inclusive and appreciative of help, of guidance, of participation. What I think, and I'll be very honest, I don't think this party or this present government has reached to where it need to go, because I think the Belizean citizens, including myself, I'm very good friends to the Attorney General. The last time we had a deep discussion, he backed me up. So what are you doing? I think this party is still open to real constructive participation. And as a people, we are not helping, we're not inputting, we're not putting in. We do not want to get into a situation whereby we can we can still pull our representatives by their hands and say, yo, you're the fool. We are not engaging. We're not forcing a party that I believe will listen to its people, because we're not engaging them in a productive way. So the problem for me is not the performance of this government. The problem for me is the performance of the Belizean people, who understands, who should understand that the People United Party is a party of inclusion, and it's a party that understands people pressure and will move with people pressure. So I think it's us. We the party is doing, I would say, 65% good work. Can they do 85? Yes. But we have to engage them. We have to push them. We have to talk to them. We have to tell them what we want. And that's the only way a society will get out the best out of these people. We can't sit back and expect them to do it. They won't do it. But they're willing to listen if we engage them. And I'm guilty too.
And not, I mean, guilty of not engaging them enough.
I have not, I don't believe, with my expertise, with my experience, I don't think Lennox Lam have done as much as I can do to see my government do what I expect them to do. And I think you are the same thing, G Mike. I think Joy is the same thing. I think John
Yeah,
Brown is the same thing. We're not engaging a party that is inclusive and willing to listen to our people. We have stepped back and wait for them to deliver and expect them to do, and we're not speaking to them.
I would want to take this opportunity, Mr. Chairman, if you allow me to. Is that when I said in the comment after Hector Silva and our good friend there had said something, I said that I will remain committed to the principle that define the purpose of the People's United Party, and I mean that. And I understood the principles that define it, and I spoke of the gospel imperative. Now, having said that, let me now go to the present immediately. And I listened to some of the members of the House, and I must give credit to some of them that I listened to. And I will say this, that there have been achievements made by this government in the areas of healthcare, in the areas of education, in the areas of housing, and the areas of infrastructure. And I will name one or two of them because I hope I am not doing it at the expense of leaving out any. But let's begin with the Deputy Prime Minister. I think the Deputy Prime Minister gave a very good account of the achievement he has made in the Ministry of Lands. And it's a fact that he did. He did a lot to make sure that lands became available to the common man. Then I listened to a man like Julius Expat. I think Julius was extremely good. I think he was passionate. I think he did a lot in achieving what he was supposed to do. I listened to a man like Francis Fonseca. One man I've always, he has been around so long. He came up in my time and under me like. And I sense the sincerity and the honesty about Francis. He is. Now, I don't want to get too much into the virtues. Where I do have now some concerns, which I do express, is that I believe there are some things that need to be done, particularly in the public sector, public service. And I strongly believe that no government, irrespective of which ideological belief, financial belief, or partisan belief, will ever be able to maximize on our dollars unless you have a very efficient and effective public sector. And that is where now I do voice my concerns, or where they could be falling short. Bring back the public sector to be what it's supposed to be. And I will end on that for this moment.
Well, you can't just say that at the end there. Give me
No.
an example of what you're talking about, or something that can be done to accomplish what you're suggesting should be done.
All right. The public sector remains to be what it was supposed to be over the last 100 years. Evidently, technology has changed how it is to be done. But one, the public sector must be neutral. Two, it must be built on meritocracy. Three, it must have internal controls to abide by. And four, it has to be embedded in efficiency and effectiveness. Now, in the recruitment It must be free from partisan politics. There will be a portion of your public sector which must be political appointments, and that must be reserved for the politicians who appoint them. But when it comes to the permanency of the public sector, I think too we should bring back the permanent secretary. Now, I am saying this because I happen to know the public sector. I'm not just a student, I maybe be a scholar because I've been with it for over 40 years. And I have been before many forums, United Nations, um, the Commonwealth Parliament, the CARICOM countries. And I believe that we need to now begin to take seriously and address our public sector. The issues the other day with the unions, particularly the teachers and public officers, who are demanding certain things, like, for example, increments. I don't see how the public sector should be demanding increments, because increments is to be given based on performance, and they should be known to understand that. Secondly, I believe indeed that we should make sure that we have a very impartial Public Service Commission, a very impartial Services Commission, and a very impartial Judicial Commission. And I feel like the public sector, in its permanency and the neutrality, is what is important, because you cannot change it every time you change a government. That must have democratic efficiency. It must go on and it must serve the government of the day. I am sense a trend, and this is in the two political parties. And it is the same thing Trump is doing, but he is doing it blatantly, is that you cannot want to have public officers' loyalty to you, the politicians. No, their loyalty is to the Constitution and the people. Now, the political appointments, loyalty must be to the platform of the party in government. And we need to make sure that we bring that back. So this whole patronage system that has been developing and becoming systemic and entrenched is not good for us. And I can cite other examples if I were to go on to show you where we are not conforming to the Constitution. We have before us now several recommendations, over 100 of them, to amend the Constitution. And I am not saying that we should not want to look at the Constitution to see what needs to be improved. But to me, you have to first of all apply it. If the Constitution is applied as it was, perhaps we have been doing better and we know exactly what we need to improve on. And that is my concern I have. While I give credit to the performance of this present government, I think one of its weakest areas is the need to address the public sector.
I don't want for us to do too much campaigning tonight, because we obviously, Lennox, you seem to be a fan. Your mic is muted. You seem to be a fan of the Prime Minister and the current government. You think that they're doing very well, but I think Joe highlighted a very important problem: the politicizing of this very public service that you're dependent upon. The putting in place political appointees as opposed to people who know the job and have the experience in the job. Don't you find that to be a major problem?
G Mike, you started before you went politics. You try to set the stage. I come from one of the most
No, I asked
outspoken.
you. No,
No,
Lennox. That's not fair, though.
no. Let me
Go
address
ahead.
this. I'll
Go,
address it.
go ahead.
I come one of the most outspoken
Uh,
political families in Belizean society,
right.
who have spoken up against their party. And so if I am not a fan of the prime minister per se. You asked me a question about the performance of the government in general. I am very impressed with what they are trying to do. No, I will show you, like Joe Cohen. Me and Mr. Cohen have discussion about this 100 times. I firmly believe that the public sector reform that he initiated, that my uncle Hubert Errington started before him, commenced the erosion of the public service, because I believe both of them did not appreciate the importance of the stability that the English bureaucracy had in place with the permanent secretary. And my uncle initiated it. Joe finished it with public sector reform, and he brought in the CEO system, which was in great concept, but the Belizean people didn't appreciate it. And so the political parties used it to disseminate the public service. So now it's wonderful to hear Joe say he didn't agree to a misstep in his decision to remove the public the PS, but for him to retract that. No. To your point, G Mike, yes, I will agree that because of the erosion, and I will lay blame where it needs to be laid. We look the UDP administration of 3 terms basically politically capitalized off a premature move by Mr. Cowie and public sector reform to erode the public service to a point whereby we have political operatives who have entrenched themselves with 12, 10, 15 years of tenureship, who wants to now dictate their retirement and their establishment, not based on the work they have done, but based on their being in a system because of political rewards. And that has significantly affected the country. I mean, I was looking at the news, and I spoke to some people at the Ministry of Sports. When you have a dissemination of the Ministry of Sports to the point whereby you have so much ghost workers, political appointees by both sides within that ministry, to the point whereby nothing has been done for those people. And then when you have Minister Marla and Minister Daly saying, yo, this thing is horrible, we need to gut it out. We have the Belizean public talking about, well, no. The purpose of the ministry is to provide goods and services for that group. And if 80% of our budget is on unqualified, unproductive individuals, we have to cut them out. So, G Mike, I'm with you with it. But it takes a situation whereby, as a society, we have to now make the hard decisions.
Can that be done? Can that be done though?
It
Because
has to be done.
isn't it too entrenched? Isn't it too uh, um it's just the way it is. That's all. I mean,
No. I don't
who's gonna
believe.
bail that cat? Who's gonna bail that
I am
cat?
saying to you, this administration, in my mind, and Joe was present. Yeah, I had a good conversation with the Minister of Tourism a couple months ago. I believe that this administration is prepared to make those hard decisions, which is a breaking of a bad practice. Then
Without
the
bias to
government,
their own without bias to their own agenda? You think? I mean, are you think they're ready
I
to go?
believe that their agenda, G Mike, we are a little younger. Our agenda is progressiveness, nation building, and being able to compete globally today. And
Mhm.
those things has to be done. And I believe that this present government is prepared to make those decisions. And surprisingly, I think the population and the Belizean public is prepared to go along that road with them. I'm not scared.
I,
Hard decisions has to be made, and I think this government is prepared to make it, and the Belizean people are prepared to make those hard decisions along with the government to get the country to where we want it to go.
and
Optimistic. Optimistic. Go ahead, Joe.
I like the term Lennox, hard decisions, very difficult decisions, very challenging decisions, but not beyond our capacity to do. So to
No,
me,
it's not.
so to me, everything is challenging, but I think we can overcome. Let me
I-
comment quickly now. The Prime Minister, of course, wrongly laughed the debate, and I have to hear him. I never hear him at the beginning, but I think he did a very good summary of the discussions, and I must credit him for that. And I believe also that if we, the people, beginning to assert ourselves in this same participatory democracy, this government will be more receptive to pressure if this pressure needed, or if it's just moral suasion, to act to ensure that we restore the public sector to do what it is supposed to do. Because we cannot continue, gentlemen. Let me just show one important point here. What you consider to be in the public sector, is it more labor intensive than perhaps capital intensive? Yes, it has been so, but we are moving towards more capital intensive now with technology. Therefore, when you look at the budget, where maybe 60 cents of the budget for every dollar is going to human resource, that is too high. I am an expert in budgeting. I am a trained person. That's what we do. And I believe that we are spending too much on the public sector. And both parties are to be blamed because they wanted to satisfy their people. Now the time has come when the hard decision must be made now. And I think that this government is well positioned. It has the benefit of making those hard decisions and bring back the public sector to what it should be. It's so expensive, it's so much of a burden on us.
Well, they certainly have the authority because there's no opposition really. But I must confess I'm a bit more skeptical than you guys are. I am. I don't know. I believe many of the Belizean public have heard it too many times before. We've heard the same song. We've heard the same Sankiri sing, if you will. Um, but they're kind of like the Missouri thing, show me, Well, make we see now. You make a move towards there. We hear the budget. We hear a lot of money tossed around and whatnot. Um, let us see and let us hope that for once they will do at least some of the things or just do try to make the effort to do whatever they do for the good of the people and not just for their own personal interests.
But Jimmy, can I emphasize this? I'm sorry to cut cross, but let's listen to this good. I believe that we have now in place politicians, and I'm not saying PUP politicians, but I think we have people who are politicians now in place, who, if you sit with them, they are more receptive and more likely to listen to you and to do what needs to be done. No, don't believe that by me saying it here tonight, you saying it here tonight, that that is enough. We need to engage them. We need to find a way to engage them and sit with them and put forward to them what we think we want. Now, after we have done that, and we have acted and asserted ourselves as to what we think we have a right to. This is not a question of a privilege. This is a right. We have a right to these things. But we must do it with respect. We must do it with intelligence. We must do it in a knowledgeable way and not in no bitter partisan way. If we begin to do that, I think we have enough members of this government who will be receptive to listen and to act on what we are saying. But if we do not light that fire, that kettle will not have hot water, my brother.
Lennox, when you're not talk, mute the mic for me because I think that yeah, I got one static to come from there. I don't know if the listeners are hearing it. I am definitely hearing it here. I see a trend though where, and this might be a joke away thing because I've heard you mention it a number of times that the participation, people participation, which I understand fully, but I don't know that we can put so much responsibility because the leaders are there to lead. They have to lead. They have to show the way. Yes, the people need to be involved, but they have to be made. It has to be made easier for them to do so. Then, and you're saying yes, they're willing to sit and listen and whatnot. That I don't know if that's the answer because we can't listen to everybody. Of course, everybody got their own agenda. So I believe what is important is that we can find a middle ground somewhere where we can agree that the proper way to go forward and everybody get on board. The leaders lead and the people engage themselves.
But we begin on the assumption, Mr. Chairman, that the people we elect is to do what we elected them to do. But the assumption does not in itself will fulfill unless we participate in making sure it is done. All I am saying that yes, I am making a comparison between this government and the one before. And yes, I may be somewhat biased because I'm a PUP. But I do find in the present government, among those politicians, I think that they are more receptive to listen. But if we sit back and we become so cynical and we become the victim of the Oscar Wilde thinking, we know the price of everything but the value of nothing. If we sit back and we become so cynical that we believe that they will not do it, they will not listen. But how do we know that they won't unless we talk to them? Though after we have done what we think we should do as citizens and it's failed, then all I can say, beware of the words of John Kennedy. If the ballots cannot do it, then the bullets will do it.
Interesting. Lennox, the thing is though that you talk about listening to the people, and apparently they have listened to the people in this because I heard a number of the members of the House mention that fiasco at 4 Miles, Belize and Beach. Any are you following that story, Lennox? And any comments on that?
See, my father, God rest his dead, used to carry me to 4 Miles. I I personally believe that the government of Belize has a, and I'm taking off my glasses, has a has an authority and has to do whatever they have to do to take back Belizean Beach for Belizeans. I grew up in Belize City, G Mike. We used to walk, you walk to the tired and the water
Yeah.
reach your ankle. That is a travesty, and that should have never been allowed to take place. And if it wasn't for that, sorry, I don't remember his name, the guy who took his family there, we would have never knew what happened.
Well, I
That
think
is a
many people
sad,
saw it. Many people saw it. Nobody was bold enough to stand up and say something.
that's a sad day in Belize's history. You have to understand, when you travel the Caribbean and Latin America, most countries don't have their beach for their public. He is despicable, disrespectful, and dishonorable. Even if he is the owner of the country, I don't care. That is not a Belizean behavior. To deny any Belizean access to G Mike, I go in your yard right now, you know, chase me with your yard. I tell Mr. G Mike, I need to sit down.
Well,
So
am I say? Go
I
ahead.
know I am hoping that the Belizean government, this present government, will do whatever they need to do to take back that property and leave it in public hands. That's disgraceful.
It
And
is. It is.
he should be flagged.
It's almost holy land, holy ground.
He should be flagged. And I would flag
We
him.
most Belizeans of my generation know about Belizean Beach and
You
make good
crazy?
use of Belizean Beach. Now I'm saying though, I would be all in favor of development of the area.
No, I'm saying a flagging. I am
Yeah, yeah.
saying Boots Martinez needs to be flagged 5
I,
times.
we're get
That's
we're
not a
get a guy
joke.
when they get a guy we beat Budna. We flag Budna for do the flagging.
That's not a
Uh,
joke. He should be taken to Belizean Beach and be flagged by every Belizean 5 times.
yeah,
That's
but
disgraceful.
what I'm saying though, the idea that he has, but how come he's so bright now that he's out of government? He had 13 years, he could have do something like that for the Belizean people. He come out now and he do it for himself. But you want to take one place like that. That's like if you fence off Yabra and say, well, we take this for somebody. You can't, certain areas of Belize that Belizeans hold dear to heart. I think that and I have to echo what Cordell Hyde said. He gone too far. He really gone too far.
Why you can't repeat what I say? He needs to be flagged. He needs to be flagged. That's
You-
not a joke.
Yeah, but look at it this way. Look at it this way. The government has a way to redress it within the law. The Constitution does provide for the acquisition of property, private property.
how much are we going to have to pay him for that?
Flag
Yeah,
him.
that's right. Yeah, but you need
500
to,
flags. That's what we pay him.
now, hold on. Let's go by the law first. We are going by the rule of law, so let's deal with the law. No, here was a public property that was sold to a private person. In other words, it was privatized. A public property of such distinction and for such purpose should never have been privatized. The point is that when they did it, it is difficult to show that they should not have done it by the law.
Why?
Hold on, because to me, they have within the law of the lands department where they could have privatized public properties. When we privatized BTL, the law allowed them to do it. I didn't support it. When we privatized water authority, I didn't support it, but it was the law. The point I'm making now, the government can take it back. What are the problem? You know what is the problem? The government can acquire it. And that is where the law was to be amended. And I hope we do it now. It means now, so hold on, it means now, you go for the public acquisition, and no doubt the government can do it. But it's the price now you have to pay.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
well,
it. Why you can't just give him back the money where him pay, or even that they broke the law? That you said there's no law was broken by him, by whoever did that. Because listen, Bruce Martinez can't pay, and that flagging part I agree with for him. Look, come, hold on, Joe. Coming to make people fool, look like fool. You won't tell me the man who used to be your driver now, that you to work for him as a contractor, he happened to have bought that land, and we know that man not gonna pat the piss in or a window to throw it out from the start anyway before his association with Boots. So really, just that you want to tell me now we have to pay him back the land value, the current value?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
we owe it to our listeners now to rise above. No, let's rise above by saying this. Show me where Boots Martinez, and those who were involved in selling that property, show me where they violated the law. Teacher said they did.
Joe,
Let us show me where they violated. Tell me.
but you know, and you're getting that you're going strictly political here now because
No, I'm not going political. I must tell you, I am going according to the rule of law. This has nothing to do with politics, right?
a law an unjust law is no law at all. We've heard that.
Yeah, but which law is unjust? Tell
Any
me.
law that allows him to do that is unjust. Anything that he did that he took advantage of whatever position he had, whatever authority he was given.
Mr. Chairman, if it, in your opinion, the law is unjust, does that make the law unjust?
Joe, can I
Your
answer?
opinion, Mr. Chairman.
Joe, you're gone knock up doing that. Go ahead, Lennox.
I want to stand up strong on this.
Joe, can I?
Come in. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you then.
Yeah.
If you believe the law is unjust, does that make the law unjust? No.
Joe,
If
which
you
law?
believe the law is unjust, does
Yeah, they go abstracted. That not got nothing to do with nothing.
Joe,
It's at the point when I reach
natural law. Joe, natural law. In 1985, when I was 5 years old, long before he acquired that land, I occupied that property. I traveled on that property. And many Belizeans utilized, stayed on that property, enjoyed that property every day of the week. We have that guy that the law says that we could acquire property, squatters' rights. We have utilized, that man tell you he has actively utilized that property from he was a child. That land should have never been given to Boots because they believe we can get petitions of Belizean people for long before independence who have been utilizing that property, occupying that property before he acquired it. So if the government, I'm not a lawyer, but the government will have to give him a red cent because that land has been actively and presently occupied and maintained by Belizeans and squatters from before independence.
All right,
Not before he acquired property. So what I'm just saying to you, he has to be very careful.
Lennox,
if the government gives him $10, he should say thank you. But there's enough people. One second, Joe. There's enough people who can go on squatters' rights.
I will be very strong
control of property.
I will be very strong about what I am about to say, and unless you can show me reasons why I will not support it, what you are doing, you are dealing with ethical standards, and I agree with you.
But it's ethical.
Hold on, let me finish. I am saying you are dealing with ethical standards, and I agree with you. It should not have been sold. I agree with you. Hold on, man. Hold on. No, the government sold it to him.
Right.
Yes.
No.
And if it should not have been, then reverse that.
But
no.
All
right. Hold on, man. Hold on.
Was the land being occupied by Belizean citizens long before the acquisition took place? They called him land that was being occupied and used by Belizeans.
You said that you are not a lawyer. No, if you are not a lawyer, then don't speak about the law. No, the chairman said just now. Yeah. The chairman said a word just now that if he should not have been, I think that was a better word, it's a guarded word. If he should not, I am saying to you, firstly, if that land was sold to Boots against the law, then fine. You can deal with it that way. But if it was sold to Boots in accordance with the law, then to repossess it and to get it back, you can do it.
You know, I've seen them go to the house.
What I'm saying to you, Joe, the land was never not occupied by Belizeans.
Lennox,
one second, Joe. Any Belizean that have utilized that property, maintained that property, enjoyed that property before his purchase has dominion over that property outside of that sale. So he
Lennox,
has nothing to stand
Lennox,
on.
Lennox, let me come back and see if I could reason with you.
That was Joe. That wasn't that deserted land that the government sold enough. That was one second, Joe. That was occupied, used land that he bought.
But he's making a point, Joe.
Ownership on that land.
The point you are making, Lennox, is that you are saying it should not have been sold.
No, that's not the point I'm making.
Hold on, man.
That's not the point I'm making.
Come on, man. We are all
That's
mature.
not the point I'm making.
The point I'm making that hold on,
that's not the point I'm making. I'm saying the government believes sold.
No, is it the point you are making that it was sold to him illegally?
No, that's not the point I'm making.
So what is the point?
The point I'm making is that land was always occupied and used by thousands of Belizeans. And any of those individuals can claim what he's claiming, and he will lose that case. So he better take his $2 or take his flag.
That is nonsense, Lennox. I can tell you it's nonsense. You know why? The point you are making, Lennox, is a good point in saying that it should not have been sold. And I support that. No, we have agreed with that, all of us. It should not have been done. Now, tell me now, where did they violate the law in selling it to him? That's what they are.
Hold on, Joe. Hold on.
Land was occupied, Joe.
Lennox,
hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. We like hide behind the law. I have seen.
Behind the law.
Hold on. I have seen them go to the House of Representatives and pass laws retroactive to cover matters like these. This didn't happen so long ago. What, 10, maybe 15 years ago, that he gave himself that land or gave that land to John Pollard? This, you can't, if you have the gut on that the house now make one law that you cannot sell any land that, as Lennox is pointing out, is used by the public, then we need to do that then.
Mr. Chairman, you are
flagging another.
Hold on, Lennox, please. Mr. Chairman, hold on. Hold on, Chairman. I beg you, please. Mr. Chairman, you are making a different point, and I agree with the point you are making. You are saying, if there is no law,
then make one.
Well, that's a different position, and I agree with you. Let me show you where. Let me hold on. Let me show you where.
I'm saying the land was being used.
You claim squatters' rights.
No, it's not squatters' rights. It is owned by the government. It is owned by the people. It's public land. It's owned. It's not squatters' rights.
It's owned by the people, I believe. It's owned by the government, who is the people, I believe.
Yes, man. Mr. Chairman, that was national land. That's what I'm saying.
Joe, that was not national land, Joe.
Yes, it was.
Used. I went to beach parties on that land. That land was being used.
Land can only be national lands or private lands, not other thing else. No, what is it if it is not national and it's not private? What is it? It is national land. Lennox,
that was privately owned and controlled by every single person that used that land.
Let me get public. Lennox, land in this country are owned either privately or publicly.
So you're discredit, Joe. You're telling me that squatters' right have no rules in Belize.
Yes, Lennox.
So we were squatting on it long before him.
Well, who is it?
He obtained that land by deception.
Becoming unreasonable.
He never had.
Who is the person? Who is the person who will go and claim it as squatters? Who?
I will.
Make this man question.
No, who will?
When they're every Sunday to swim, will claim it.
Lennox, you don't have to claim squatters' right. You don't have to. The land was national land owned by the people, man. You don't know that? It was owned by the people.
So if it's owned by the people, he has no right to own it. It's already owned.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. But Joe, listen. Hold on.
Hold
on. You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? Is that nobody like yourself, Joe, any government man is not going to support this, because it will open a can of worms. it
No,
will start something that might
no,
just
no,
spiral out of control.
no, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
there'll be a lot of lands will have to be given back if
No,
this goes through.
it's not true, Mr. Chairman. You all are misled by one opinion of something that is not true. We are dealing with the rule of law. No, let me give you an example. The Finance and the Audit Reform Act, when amended, was amended to make sure how certain lands can be sold. That's what it did.
And it didn't take into consideration none of these lands here. That is such a landmark.
Because, Mr. Chairman, it was not supposed to include a land like that. It was dealing with acres of land. That if the land
Right.
was a certain amount of acres, you have to go to the parliament. If it is keys, you have to go to the
Chairman, can I ask you a
parliament.
question?
No, that's what I'm gonna just finish.
No,
We are dealing
G-Mike,
with
can
the
I ask you a
rule.
question?
What have I done, man? We are dealing with the rule of law. I am not suggesting for one
No,
moment.
but Joe, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am, but I just finish, please. I am saying to you, we all
But
oppose.
Joe, the rule of law says that we
Every
can
one of
obtain
us here is-
property by squatting.
Lennox, Lennox,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah,
Well-
yeah, yeah. Make this man cuss bad word, Lennox.
Lennox, what are you saying? Tell me. Oh, they got no.
No, just mute him, Mike. But
Wait a second, I don't hear what you say.
he's saying that the land was used, and those who were using it can
My
claim.
question to you, Joe, I'm asking you, right?
The land is national lands. It's owned by the people. It's public
Can I ask you a
land.
question, Joe? Yes, Joe, but can I ask you a question?
Ask me.
Does the law of Belize provide for squatters' rights?
Yes.
Good. So, G Mike, can I ask G Mike a question? G Mike, how long have you been going to Belizean Beach?
I born and grew up the go there. I grew up on Cemetery Road, almost to the cemetery. So that's the only place we had. We never gone to Barracks and we never gone to Yabra. We went straight up to Belizean Beach just about every Sunday and holiday.
So you may use it, you enjoy it, you clean it, you pick it up. Were you squatting on Belizean Beach from I don't know from where you are, because I don't want
we-
to call your age.
We felt it was
So
our
you don't have
land.
rights. You can't claim ownership to the Belizean Beach.
I believe, well, it's already. I don't have to. It's the people's land. That's how Joe de Seno. In that regard, I can understand that. Yeah, it is belong to the people of Belize. But why they say no is
So
that
I'm not speaking of anything unlawful.
did that go to the House of Representatives, Joe? You say you have to go to cabinet
No,
for
no,
approval.
no. That wouldn't have to. I
Why?
don't.
Well, then we need to make sure that land like that has to go then, don't we?
G Mike, again, when they come back, you could say that, listen, the Finance and Audit Reform Act provides for the sale of certain lands. They had cases of land being sold to foreigners
Right.
of a certain amount of beyond a certain acre, has to go for approval to the national. You have lands of a certain size, needs to go to the national. You have keys that needs to go to the national, but it doesn't have all the land that you're going to sell. A person want to buy a residential.
Yeah, but this is not ordinary land, Joe. And you done missed that point. You missed the point. You lump it in a one meal package.
What is the point I am missing except to tell you that there is some restrictions on the sale of land under the Finance and the Audit Reform Act? No. If you want to bring that piece of land on all beaches in this country which is publicly owned, and you say, listen, we are agitated that all beaches publicly owned in this country cannot be sold unless it goes. We put it into the then that's an amendment to the law. Make them do that.
You know, my gosh, something. Do you think that government should reacquire that land?
Yes.
You, Joe. All right. Do you think they should pay Boots Martinez property the current land value for that land when they take it back?
G-Mike,
no, Joe. That a yes or no? That a yes or no?
Ask the question again.
Do you think that when they reacquire that land, as they should do, they need to give Boots Martinez, the owner of the land, or his politically connected body, should they then be compensated land current land prices, the cost of land?
G Mike, yes, they have to be compensated.
Joe, you must be crazy.
You
You
crazy.
must be mad.
No,
Ask me the same
your
You
problem.
question.
you you,
But
you see why people not trust government? You see why?
we
Ask me
had
the same
about that
question.
trust in government, man. Why not?
Man, that law, if it's a law, it's no good as a law.
Well, they change the law, man.
Can you ask me
Not
the same
change the
question?
law. The public has a right to disobey any law that's not a just law. And that would not be a just law that you're talking about there.
G-Mike, can you ask me the same question, please?
Do you think the government should reacquire the land?
Yes.
Do you think they should give Bruce Martinez or his political connected individual compensation for that, which are the fair value of that land?
I think they should pay Boots Martinez with 500 lashes and his crony
I
200
did.
lashes. That's all they should get. And we put them right in front of the courthouse and we pay them with lashes. That's what should be done.
Lennox, are you familiar with they talk about it today in the build this new hospital that could have been built on university land, but it was built on a land that they sold to somebody for, I believe, 400,000, but bought it back for $6.9 million. Are you aware of that? And do you have any comment on that one?
Mike, of course I'm a Belize. I live and breathe Belize. Yes, I understand. Yes, I saw it. But for some strange reason, this is my issue I have with my wonderful country. We have no problem instituting draconian laws to lock up young men for a year in prison, like the commissioner is asking, but we become so sophisticated and so proper and so law-abiding when
Yeah.
we have to use my taxpayers' money, my mother, your money, to pay
For a wrong.
these people money.
To rectify a wrong.
One second, we cannot be draconian in a
Violation of rights.
the poor,
Right.
the disadvantaged, the average man, but we should be so law abiding and sophisticated in paying
Yeah.
this one. The law, I'm not playing that.
Do you get that point, Joe? Do you get that point? 'Cause that's a very important point.
I would be as draconian as locking up a
Mr.
man
Chairman, Mr.
in
Chairman,
jail because we cannot police.
go ahead.
We cannot efficiently do crime prevention as I will do to a blue-collar criminal who have exploited their positions to acquire properties. And then, no, we're not playing. Either we be draconian or be sophisticated. We can't have it both ways. And the police and public has to demand that. We're not playing it two ways. Because I will not live in a society, G-Mike, whereby the average poor man will feel so victimized and so helpless that he wants to hurt me, and the sophisticated man in society feels so entitled to law and order that he must get $20 million, $5 million, $10 million in compensation. We're not going to do it like that. I looked at the news the other day with the two ruling. You lock up a man in jail, you took away every single liberty, every single right he has.
But we're part ways on this one. We're part ways. Go ahead.
You pay him pittance, and the government is challenging that. But then a man who got a piece of island or a piece of key, you're going to pay millions of dollars? He never lost anything. This man lost his liberty. And you have a problem cutting him a check for a draconian law? Come on. I'm not playing that games with them. We
Yeah.
gotta be fair.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say this and then I leave. And then
Yes, sir.
you know what I'm finding extremely disconcerting is a total disregard for the rule of law. You is in fact supporting. I begin from the position that we must and should be governed by the rule of law. Now, you'll find that the law is a good law, but the law is not being applied or complied with. Then you need to do something about that. Now, if you find that the law in itself may not be a good law, then you seek to change it. Lennox, the many things you said just now is more should be in our authoritarian society, where you are the person who decide what is law. In a society where there should be free men and women and rule governed by rule of law, when we find that the law is not adequate, we change it. And now, if you and the chairman believe that by full opinion the law will be changed, then Uno could go that way, but I am not going with Uno. I believe in the rule of law, and I believe you have a judiciary that interprets it and applies it, and you have a law enforcement.
But this has happened too often, Joe. And are you okay with it, really? That a man sell himself something for $2,000 and then you have to gain back 20 million for it? Will you agree with that?
Mike, I am not saying I agree with it.
But you said that the law say you have to be like that.
I am saying that if it is the law, then change the law.
Well, then let's change it then.
Yes, that's what we're advocating for, and stop with fool about you want to change it by your own. You can't. We have
I'm not saying that, Joe.
Thank you.
That's
No,
what
I'm proposing lashes.
That's what you and the chairman are saying. I am saying
I propose lashes.
No, let me tell you what happened. You know what happened? Under the PUP cabinet of Said Musa, that law should have been changed, and he did advocate. Unfortunately, and you know why you're advocating for it? The law is that when the government sells, it does not sell at market value. It sells at what's the committee appointed by the minister determining the price. But when the government, they acquire, it has to acquire at market value. What they advocated for was to change the law that to make sure that when it has to be acquired back, it will not be at market value. It will be at the price he paid the government plus the interest. That is what. Now the law. Hold on, man, like a finish, man. Hold on, like I don't know. I'm sorry I get involved in this. Really, this is not my line of discussion. I am saying that we are rational human beings. Let us try to abide by the rule of law. When the law, hold on, America, when the law.
Man, you buy the harp and it's la.
It has to be, G, Mike.
No, it doesn't have to be. Maybe we need to advocate for a totalitarian system then, because this shit ain't working. Now we got to another work.
Advocate for it.
Because we're fools. We're fools. We act as if we don't got no intelligence.
Saying that
really.
Then advocate for a totalitarian system.
No, but G Mike.
Advocate for that if that's what you want. Don't say that.
No. Right, you don't have to be all the way or no way at all. No, you could go part of the way and do the right thing.
We must go by the rule of law. That's what the Constitution is saying to us.
But I'm saying to you, the acquisition that was done by the guy Pollard and Boots was an illegal and unlawful acquisition because me and G Mike was utilizing and using that land and had ownership of the land before him. So I'm saying to the government that we should not give him a red cent. We were come on, before him.
Lennox, come on, man, please. You are saying that you and G Mike are saying, man. You are saying that you and G Mike are saying that
we were fighting on the land before him.
That's why we can't make no headway, Lennox. You and the chairman are saying that Boots acquired the land illegally.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Well, show me where he did it. Just show me the law and he did it. Lennox, just say that you are not a lawyer.
Using that land from 1909.
Yeah, you can't dismiss the man argument by saying that, Joe. Just get to know a lie don't mean it can't make sense.
I am saying to him and to you, Mr. Chairman, if he acquired it illegally, all I ask is to reform it to the law how he did it. And if he did it, then you do it.
We don't have to reform the
Where's
law.
the law?
The law.
Where's the law that he acquired it?
Joe, how the Constitution? How about the Constitution?
That we can acquire land by squatting. And we have been utilizing that land long before.
Lennox, you are talking. Lennox, what you are saying, total nonsense. You have squatters' right. You do have.
Yes, we do.
Hold on, no, man. Hold on. If you are squatting on private land, yes, you can make a claim if it is within the law. It's a law. If you are squatting on public land, you can make a claim if it is within the law. The difference between the two of them is that you have, when it comes to public lands, you have to be squatting for a longer period. Now, if you are saying that you and G. Mike was squatting on Maya Beach, and you two are going to claim it from government, then go and make your claim then. You want him go and claim it.
That's what we plan to do.
Claim it. So you're going to claim land now because you are squatting, therefore both should not have it because only the squat on it.
Yeah, where they going? All right, listen, we're out of time, but let me say this. Let me say this. I think what has to happen is for those in government that you are saying and actually are trying so hard to do the right thing should make sure that something like this can never happen again. And it's happened too many times before for us to only know to think about do that. If we have to make one retroactive law, let us do that. But certainly, we should not, the taxpayers of this country should not be burdened with no astronomical amount of money for a corrupt politician like Boots to get away with. That's all I'm saying. Listen.
Mr. Chairman, can I come in now?
Yeah, but you only got a couple more guys. We're done.
Hold on. If you had said that, I would have agreed with you 100%. I would have not been in this debate period. That's all you should have said, and I agree with you 100%. That's how we have to say.
Well, that's what I've been saying. But we need to do that. I think, right? Anyway, Lennox, you're gone.
I'm right here.
All right. Listen, we're out of time. We have to do this again sometime soon.
Anytime, guys.
All right, we're touch base with you, Joe. Thanks again.
I think I want to be in this one again.
Listen to me. I hear you, Lennox. When flag your ass for true, boy. See why we're done here. Let's get this going. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Move around. These streets ain't for everyone. That's the reason for sidewalks. You in the kiddie pool, I'm in the ocean swimming with sharks. I was standing next to you when you got marked. You craving the limelight, I'm nocturnal. I like it dark, I'm a hip-hop phenom. I'll be doing this until hell run out of demons, bar none. Anybody could get some. You're not about that life, but you talk a good one. It's no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. Run, Forrest, run. I told you, I won't stop pulling the trigger until all the bullets in the whole world is done. Crime scene, gruesome. I have your whole hood on lockdown. The aftermath be an afterthought, like after a week long riot, level 5, inside Folsom. You a clown, think it's a joking matter. Even my shorty is shatter. One hammer, I'm hit, mixed with hot. I'm MJ, you Scott, Boss, you Stain on the track. I be killing the instrumental, even if it was just one drop. Lyrically gifted, first pick, first wrong when I got drafted. You a subway strap hanger, ratted, but don't get it twisted. Black up tongue, black sweat, black fitted. On guard, I'll raise it up, and you'll be one of the daily departed. Yo, move around. Came up from the bottom and cliffed it. Move around. Hard mountain, genetic, visionary, prophetic. Once the fire took, I can't replace it. Never materialistic. Like Corey, I spit ism with spirit. Keeps it organic. Following the teachings of Dr. Stevie, holistic. Bars off the chart, like I was autistic. Intercontinental, ballistic.